Hey, what's going on? This is the Knicks State of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Quis, and I'm hoping we got some of those issues resolved and things are moving a little bit more smoothly. I'm joined as usual by Inf and also joined as well by JD. First time here on the channel. How's it going? You can hear me?
Yeah, I said I'm excited to be here, and yeah, let's get it going.
Yeah, okay. So let's start with the first quarter. JD, what did you feel? How did you like the team's energy when they came out in the first quarter of the game?
I think I think the team came. They had a fast start. They came ready to play, and we had a strong start. The first quarter, it was very interested. I wanted to see how we were going to start, being that one of the things that I was looking for to this game. I thought it was going to be a low scoring game. So the start actually surprised me because when you look at it, you had a West Coast team coming to the East Coast playing a 1 o'clock game. So in California, that's what, 11 a.m. or something.
Something around
And
there.
so, and if you look at a few of the games, matinees earlier this year for the Knicks, they've been low scoring games and teams have come out slow. So I thought it was going to be a recipe for the Clippers to come in, shoot some bricks, keep it low scoring. I thought it was going to be a slow paced game, but the actual opposite happened. And so I think that was a positive. We were able to kind of play a little bit of high scoring. There wasn't much defense, but yeah, I like the way that we started the game.
Yeah, the only issue I really had is the fact that we didn't have much defensive intensity. I wish the team would have came out and worked a little bit harder on the defensive end, and I feel like we were able to keep up with them on offense. But when we have that starting unit out, I think they don't do a good job or a great job of making things easy for themselves. Like they make baskets, they get shots, but it feels like Julius Randle at times has to overextend himself early on in the game, and then you start to see him fade as the game goes on. And I think that's something we saw in this game. First quarter, it was really just Julius Randle doing his thing, and a little bit of RJ helping out as well. And then towards the end, the team had to rely on Quickly. And to be honest, that's probably where I should have started this show. The emergence of Emmanuel Quickly at point guard.
Yeah, he was excellent, and I mean, it goes into with the connection of Tom Thibodeau's rotation. I just don't like I don't like the minutes distribution and when he decides to bring him into the game. In terms of at at he should bring him in early in the first quarter, and get some of the starters going. And he ended up playing more minutes than Alfred Payton today. So you're starting to see, if you're looking for a signal of some of the tide starting to flip, that's something that you could look at. He played 27 minutes, 28 minutes more than Alfred Payton. I don't know that he will start soon, but I would like for Thibs to bring him in earlier into the game, especially in games that we start a little slow. And it goes into what you're saying in terms of wanting to kind of activate some of the other players and have some spacing on the court. But he is he's playing great. He's playing terrific. He's starting to get respect from the defenses. He's starting to get respect from the opponents. He's starting to get some respect from around the league. And he is shooting up the rookie ranks as we speak. So I'm looking forward to continuing to watch him play and see how he develops as we go along.
Yeah, I mean, IQ, I've been following him from the start of the season, and he's clearly the best option for us as point guard. I mean, with Alfred Payton, you're seeing time and time again. I mean, he has chipped in, or he did chip in this game at points and at times, but he's really not giving us anything that's really of value. Even defensively, he's okay defensively. even though Emmanuel Quickley, I know in our last live, some people were saying Emmanuel Quickley is not great defensively, and you did see some moments, some lapses where I think he allowed, what was it, Man, to get open on a backdoor cut for an easy dunk, and then he fouled him. So you see times where his defense isn't necessarily up there, and maybe that's maybe why Thibs decides to stick with Payton. But I still think Emmanuel Quickley is showing time and time again that he is our best point guard on the team. Now, some people continue to argue that he's not a legit point guard and he's not really initiating any kind of offense. All the looks he's getting for other players are basically because he's attracting attention, and then that's what's getting them open lanes. But I would say in the NBA right now, that's what you would want from a modern day point guard. So even if he's not really initiating any kind of offensive sets, the fact that he's still having the ability to get people open alley oops, and he's still finding people open, whether that be in the pick and roll, I think it's what we need in this modern NBA, and I think we'll be fine with him at point guard.
I mean, I don't understand why people say that he's not a point guard when anytime him and Payton play the same amount of minutes, they end the game usually with the same amount of assists. So what is it that makes Payton a point guard that doesn't make Quickley a point guard when he's getting the same amount of assists as Payton, and he spreads the floor a lot better? He gets people in better positions to orchestrate their own offense. It just, I don't understand. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of chatter around Knicks Nation on what is he? Is he a point guard? He's not a point guard. He's a combo guard. He's this, he's that. I mean, he's a basketball player. You know, he's a guard that has an early skill that can score. Some people like the floater game. Some people don't, because it looks a little quirky. Sometimes he shoots the floater early before you get to the restricted area. So sometimes he shoots it from the free throw line. And that looks a little odd on TV just because it looks a little further away than how you're taught to shoot the teardrop, which is a little closer to the basket. So that doesn't look as attractive to some fans, but it's a skill. And the reason it's a skill is because he started doing it from the center of the court. But you saw today he had some teardrops from the side of the basket where he used the backboard. So when you're having a skill like that and you're using it all around the court, to me, that becomes now a skill that you've worked on. And we just need to accept that he is a guard. And I think part of it is because we don't have a pure point guard, and we have a lot of players that seem to need that type of player for them to be activated, like a Obi Toppin, like a Kevin Knox. A lot of chatter has been, well, we need this type of player to get that player going. And because we don't have that, we're kind of using it like we're trying to force Emmanuel Quickley to be something that right now he's not showing that is his biggest arsenal. His biggest arsenal right now is using the pick and roll so that he can get himself going. A lot of the moves that he has now are veteran moves. Damian Lillard does a lot of this stuff where he's using the pick. You know, Trae Young is doing it a lot this year. He's using the pick and he's waiting for you, and then he immediately jumps up to get a foul on the jump shot. He's using he sets a pick, he drives to the basket, he waits for you to come behind him so he can have a clear lane to the basket to shoot the teardrop. So, like, don't get caught up in the position. Actually, look at the way this guy is playing. His moves right now, his skill is actually a lot of veteran skill. So I think that when you look at that, it bodes well for sustainability in terms of we see a lot of players come onto the scene, and sometimes you don't know if this is just a hot streak, aka Linsanity. You don't know if it's something that's sustainable. But when you look at the way that Emmanuel Quickley is doing, 90 plus from the free throw line, a lot of veteran moves to create fouls, using the pick and roll, using the teardrop, he's using moves from players that he looked up to. So I think that's the most exciting part of it. And we just need to just chill out with the whole he's this and he's that. he is a piece for a future Knicks championship contending team. That's how I view him. I view him as a piece. And right now, he may not be the point guard that we need to activate everyone else per se, but he still is a piece that you need once you become a championship caliber team.
And you're saying he doesn't really activate other people, but there are times where he's able to find other players on the court. He's shown times where he's able to play alley oop or pick and roll with Obi. You've seen what was that 2 games ago where he had the nice alley oop over what was that? I think that was against the Magic. He had a nice alley oop to Obi. Even though right now Thibs isn't really using Obi correctly, I think if Thibs were to use some of these players a little bit in their right situations, in their right spots, you would see that IQ may be able to operate like that. But you don't see Thibs really trying to find mismatches out there on the court with the pick and roll and trying to run those sets where we're getting Obi or Mitch streaking to the basket. That's a problem that I think comes from Thibs and may not be an indicator of IQ skill set. I think he has the ability to do that. We just need Thibs to kind of unlock this offense and give them the opportunity to build that rapport.
No, I agree. I want to do a quick shout out for Analdi, Rob Parr, salute. Like, we out here. Oh.
Also, BD4, Rob, my fault, man. Next time we're definitely going to have you come on. The technical difficulties, I think even now it's still a little bit choppy, but we're trying to power through. So now moving on from IQ, let's touch on RJ Barrett's play. I really liked what I saw from RJ. He was able to mix it up and score in a few different ways. He was able to get to the basket. Of course, we're loving when RJ is able to finish at the rim. There was that defensive possession. He was able to get the strip on the fast break and get that dunk. That was great to see from RJ. Also, I saw RJ operating in the mid-range. He had a tough fadeaway mid-range shot towards the baseline that I was like, wow, that's a real tough shot for him to knock down. And then also late in the game, I think he scored the last 2 or 3 buckets for us, even though it was in garbage time. And he was out there playing hard. And if RJ's going to start averaging 20 minutes a game, then I think it's going to be easy for us to say that RJ would be the 3rd best player out that draft. And I think he's just going to continue to build from here. You even heard Frazier say it, that RJ is going to potentially be an all-star next year. So if it's going to continue to trend upwards, I'm happy that we made that pick, and I'm happy that RJ is going to be able to blossom if we don't do anything crazy and try to ship him out of here.
Now, I think that's the one thing that we can be sure that's not going to happen with the way that he has the green light to do whatever he wants on the court. They clearly have decided RJ is our man. I mean, he's still playing the most minutes for the most part, aside from today where Randall had 5 more minutes than him. RJ is clearly our guy. That's the guy that they're going to continue to build around. And I mean, he's doing good. He had 23 points today, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Like, that's decent.
Yeah, what was he, the 3rd leader scorer behind Randall and IQ?
Yeah. And what's cool about IQ is the fact that he was able to score his whole 25 and basically run the point with no turnovers.
Right. Good point. No turnovers on the night.
Yeah, I mean, I think today was an important game for him, being that going into the game, a lot of people probably, the sentiments around the community was he was going to get locked up, going up against wing defenders like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. This was going to be a tough game for RJ. He was going to get exposed. We were going to see a lot of his weaknesses in terms of, him not being able to shine against, defenders that are strong and that are elite. And so I think that him being able to still put up what he's been averaging lately, and going toe-to-toe against Kawhi, playing good defense against Kawhi. Kawhi eventually got to his averages, but I think Kawhi made like 11 free throws. He got a lot of his points from the free throw line. And in the first half, Kawhi had 12 points on 3 of 9 shooting. And a lot of that had to do with RJ's defense. RJ was challenging a lot of shots. And I thought that was a good experience for him going up against Kawhi for most of the game. Sometimes you're going into a game and you're matched up on the lineup card against someone, but teams mix and match. You don't get to actually have that player defend you. And in this game, Kawhi was actually defending RJ the whole game, and so was RJ. So I thought the totality of it was a great experience for him. And I'm seeing a lot of mental development from RJ as well. On one play on the second quarter, I noted where he had a mismatch with Zubac, and he realized that mismatch. He called for the ball. He wasn't too comfortable with the lane that he had, so he passed it back to Randall. Randall gave it back to him, and then he saw an opportunity to drive to the basket, had the floater from the middle of the paint, and made the bucket. That seems like such an easy play, but it coming from RJ, the whole setup, I think, is starting to show that he is developing the mental part of it to where he's picking his spots. He's learning how to score, where to score. He only shot 1-3, I believe, the whole game.
He only made 1-3 the whole game.
Was it 1-3? You guys could correct me. I don't have the box score.
No, he was 1 for 3 from 3.
No, I think he only shot 1-3. Yeah, he was 1 for 3.
0 for 1.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Kawhi. You were talking about RJ?
Yeah, RJ. He only shot 1-3 today. He was 9 of 14. So this is what I want to see from him. Shoot the threes that you feel comfortable shooting. If you're wide open, you can take them. But even some of them, he's starting to pick his spots on the floor. And that's what 3 weeks ago that's not what we were seeing. We were seeing a player that worked on his shot in the offseason, and he wanted to prove that he's a three-point shooter. He wanted to prove that he's a perimeter shooter. And he started to see that that's still not there yet. So let's work on shots around and closer to the basket. Let's work on efficiency. And now he's becoming more consistently efficient. And I think that's exciting for Knicks fans. And when I see that, I think about, I don't know if I'm trading him for Beal or Levine. I'm not trading RJ. I am not trading RJ. No.
I feel you on that. Definitely would not trade RJ either. I feel like he is who we are going to build around. But unfortunately, this is it for me. So the rest is up to y'all. I'm going to be off this.
All right. Thanks
just
for
quick shout out
the technical difficulties.
No, it is what it is. And quick shout out to Steve Fox and May 4th, consistently showing support. We respect y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Fox from the Knicks at Night podcast. You can check them out 11:45 at Blorange Tears on YouTube. They got a great channel, great group of panelists out there, and I pop up there sometimes on weekends.
And no, I appreciate it. You we out here. Let me stop.
I got it in Burgundy too, or Nudie.
All right, I'll catch y'all.
All right, bro, man. So JD, I want to talk to you about Thibs' rotations. He had me pissed. Like I'm sitting there like Thibs, what are you doing? First, you take forever to put the bench in, and then in the fourth quarter, you take forever to take the bench out. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like the minute we came close and cut it to 2, and then they kind of started to stretch it to like 5, 7. He should have been like, all right, Randall, all right, RJ, we need you in the game right now. Go play with IQ. Because if he would have did that, then I think this game would have been a lot more manageable coming into that fourth quarter or finishing out that fourth quarter.
You know, it's last game, his rotations, and I get it. You know, sometimes you have a coach of Thibs' caliber. He has credibility. He has credibility. He has a lot of respect. He has a resume in terms of who he's coached with, Jeff Van Gundy. He's been here before. So I get it. You know, you give him some time before you start to criticize the coach. But I've been frustrated with his distribution of minutes and the patterns of the substitutions. I'm not so upset about players like Bullock starting. I guess I see why he's starting Alfred Payton at this point. Because I mean, even in the long term, I don't know that we see Quickley as the starting point guard, being that, you know, it's a player that it's a position that they're going to look to add. So we'll see who that player is. But even with all that said, it's just like the last game, there was the 6-minute mark in the first quarter. The Knicks had 3 points, and he still had Alfred Payton on the court. He still had the starting lineup on the court. Now, we won the game, right? We won the game. Nobody talked about it. We can't criticize the coach because we won. But then you saw how Quickley played later on. So I just don't understand when you see the moves, the players that you have, like a Quickley. I don't understand why you take so long to make your substitutions. It just feels like he is drawing a game plan before the game, and he has a format of when he wants to put players in, and he sticks to that no matter what happens on the court. And it seems like he only adjusts when certain young players make a mistake, like a Kevin Knox, or sometimes even Quickley early in the season. But with his veteran players, he just sticks with them. And I just don't understand it. The game before that, when we played Portland, Quickley didn't play the whole he didn't play the whole second quarter or the fourth. Or no, he didn't play the third and the first. I'm sorry, vice versa. And I'm like, how do you take a whole quarter and you don't play a player that is probably your second best offensive player at this point? So I just don't understand the way that he's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, the rotation is fine. It's just at what point that he is making the changes, I don't get it. And it's really, really frustrating. Tonight was the first time, though, if you're looking at any positive, tonight was the first time that IQ Quickley was the first guard off the bench. Before, there used to be Rivers. Today it was Quickley. Quickley was the first guard off the bench. Now the first players off the bench were Taj
Gibson. Like, bro.
Oh my God, bro. Taj Gibson and Burks were the first player off the bench. And this is the perfect example. Even today, Taj Gibson and Alec Burks came in with 4 minutes and 12 seconds to go, right? Bullock and Mitch came out. IQ came in with 3 minutes and 48 seconds. And you know why IQ came at that point? Because Payton picked up his second foul. The game before that, IQ came in at the 5-minute mark. That was probably the earliest that Quickley has come into the game in the first quarter. Probably the earliest. I don't understand what is it that you can't just make early adjustments? Now, a lot of people say, well, it's because you want to have Quickley go against bench players. Well, why not bring Quickley early in the game? You still take him out and you bring him in the second quarter. You still give him the opportunity to play with the bench players. But it seems he has this format now, and when we win, nobody says anything, but sooner or later, it's a concern for me because, and you saw today, you know, I always thought when we had this game on the schedule coming off a win, I really wanted to see how he managed the minutes today. And you know why? Because it was a Clippers team, right? And I felt that if it was going to be a close competitive game, I wanted to see who he plays, because it could be a signal and a sign of how Thibs' style is going to be when we are playing playoff type games later in the season, if we're pushing for a playoff spot or if we get to the playoffs. And as you can see today, he favors a lot of the veterans. For the first time, Kevin Knox got a DMP. And I always was wondering what's going to happen when we get all of our wings back. A lot of people said, no, Knox is still going to play 15 minutes. It's probably going to be Bullock out of the rotation and Burks is going to start. And I always said, I don't think so. Look at the signs Thibs is showing you. Look at the signs. He has a long leash on the veterans. He doesn't have such a long leash on the young players. So this is something for Knicks fans to watch as we continue the season on how Thibs is managing the distribution of these players and when and the substitution patterns.
Yeah, that kind of threw me through a loop. The fact that he didn't play Knox at all and that he gave minutes to Taj Gibson. Even though Taj Gibson receiving minutes doesn't really stop, Knox from getting burned. But to see Knox get a DMP, especially when this is a season when I'm expecting, the team to focus primarily on development, that was scary because it seems like even with Knox getting his own coaching staff in, that if he's not showing enough to get Thibs's trust to be put out there on the court, to me that's crazy. And like you said earlier, in the middle of your point about Taj Gibson, why did we need a Taj Gibson sighting today? And not only that, how many minutes did he play? 20-something minutes? 18 minutes. So Nerlens Noel? Oh yeah, Nerlens Noel had a groin injury. Because I was wondering, I'm like, why is Gibson the first big off the bench? And I'm like, you're gonna give extended minutes to Taj, and you're not even gonna try to say, all right, when the Clippers try to go small with Ibaka, can we try to move Randall over to the 5 and see if we can get Obi some more run to see if we can actually play that way? But no, they decided to go with Taj Gibson and keep it old. I mean, honestly, Thibs is really starting to irk me with the way he's setting up his rotations. Like, when I started with my issues with his rotations, the fact that he decided to wait until the game was out of reach to bring his starters back in at the end of the game, to me was mind-boggling. Like, the game was within reach. You see that IQ's the only one on the court right now that's making anything happen. Why are you going to continue to let the Clippers get these open shots and continue to stretch this lead out? When we've seen Randall, he was the leading scorer, and RJ's the third leading scorer. You're going to keep both of them on the bench? Come on, man. You should have brought them in. You should have had them try to slow down the Clippers from gaining that momentum, because the momentum was on our side. IQ had hit a couple shots. We were down by only, I think, 2 or 3 points, and then they just went on that run, and Thibs was just sitting on his whistle. He didn't call a timeout. He didn't do anything. I'm like, come on, Thibs. You got to do better than that.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating. I felt that he had RJ on the bench too long also in the fourth. You even noticed on MSG, they even showed there was a scene where they showed RJ's face on the bench with a mask on, and then they showed Thibs. You see, TV, they're smart. They know what they try to provoke when they do these scenes, right? The host is talking about it. Clyde was talking about it. And they start to paint the narrative when they make a comment, when Clyde says, RJ's still on the bench. And then the camera goes to RJ, and then it goes to Thibs. And then you're at home as the consumer, you're watching it. And what it does is it gives you have a reaction from home because you get upset. And so I thought that he left RJ on the bench too long because Kawhi got going against Burks a little bit. And I just felt that RJ was our best defensive option against Kawhi. And that again, Taj Gibson coming off the bench, first big man off the bench. Like I said, this was a game where you start to see when we're playing these kind of big games or these games against contenders, Thibs is playing a win. Keep an eye on how he manages these games because it's going to give you a sign of how he's looking. He may be looking into the future. Obi only played 13 games. Now, the thing with Knox, it's a tough conversation because I can't even say that he's earned it, to be honest with you, but at the same time, it's one of those tough situations because I don't know. I always said when this moment comes, if Knox is completely phased out of the rotation, it's going to tell you everything you need to know about how they feel about him. And I said it before because this season we've had a lot of players hurt. So at times Bullock has been hurt and Burks has been in, and then that period when Burks has been out. So Knox has not been against a full healthy lineup yet. And today was the first day where, Noel's not playing his position, but in terms of his position, Burks and Bullock was healthy. And then now you see what Thibs did. He DMP'd him. So to me, if this is all Thibodeau, it tells me what he feels about Kevin Knox at this point. And it's gonna be interesting to see if this is something that's going to continue as we go along, and it's going to be interesting to see what that means for him.
Before I get into that point, just want to say shout out to Delano Still. Thanks for pulling up and showing support. He's saying this wouldn't have happened if we drafted Mikal Bridges. Ironically, we were talking about Bridges before we got on. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wanted not coming into the season. I thought Knox was going to be that player that we were able to slide into the 3, and he was able to hold down that small forward position for us. I thought he has the tools. It's just he has been unable to put it together. And you saw the team go out and bring in, some Kentucky heavy coaching staff to try to make sure that a lot of these players from Kentucky have a comfortable work zone and a place where they can be confident or rebuild their confidence here in the NBA. And I thought the biggest beneficiary of that would have been Kevin Knox. So to see that we're this many games into the season and everything is trending in the opposite direction is disheartening for a Knicks fan who really felt like the core could have been something special or could become something special if we were just willing to invest the time and resources. And it looks like we've tried to invest the resources, but Thibs is not looking like he wants to invest the time in Knox. And that's unfortunate because we may end up moving on from Knox. And I think with him still being young, he can blossom elsewhere. I don't know. Thibs just wasn't the right coach originally for me. I mean, he's done great as he's had an extended amount of time with this roster. We've been competitive for the most part. We're still in contention of a potential play-in spot or playoff spot. I just think if we could focus on our core a little bit more, especially in these games where we're going up against the cream of the crop. How are we supposed to know how Kevin Knox is going to look in this situation if you're going to shield him from these type of scenarios? I feel like if we would have had Kevin Knox, we would have at least been able to say, okay, this is our eye test. This is how we're going to see Kevin Knox compete against players of that manner, of that stature. So to see him get a DNP is unfortunate. Frank Nitty's healthy. He got a DNP as well. So basically, it seems like we're not going to see what some of these younger players are going to be able to provide for us until it may be too late.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's also disheartening because Knox has some of the Kentucky connections installed on the team this year with Kenny Payne, and in some thought that with that addition to the staff, it was going to give him equity with the team. It was going to give him kind of a jump start on the rotation, on his development. And I just think that Thibs may not be the coach for a Kevin Knox. I mean, because with Fizdale, it was more of you get the minutes, you do what you want to do. With Thibs is more, listen, I don't care if you play 5 minutes. If I don't get what I need from you in 5 minutes, then it's going to be 3 minutes. Then it's going to be 2. So on one side, you have the argument that Knox seems to be a player that needs minutes in order for you to see the full production. So he's not a player. It's like specialist, right? Like a JJ Redick. JJ Redick could play 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, you're going to get what you need from him on the offensive end because he's a specialist. Specialists come into the game and they have a specialty. So they don't need much of any preparation. They know what they're going into the game for, and that's what they give you. Knox seems to be a player that needs upwards of 20-plus minutes a game for him to eventually get into a rhythm, for him to eventually get into a groove, because he's a mentally weak player at this point. He makes a lot of mental mistakes on the defensive side of the court where he sometimes doesn't rotate the way he's supposed to. He doesn't cover his assignment like he is designed to. And on the offensive end, he's not aggressive enough. And so it seems like this is just not the coach for him. And we could very well see a situation where Knox goes somewhere else to a team that maybe defense is not first priority, and he's able to make those defensive mistakes, but he's going to eventually get the minutes to be a decent player. But it just seems like with Thibs, as you can see, with Obi is an 8th overall pick, but Obi's not getting 20 minutes a game. Obi's playing barely 13, 12 minutes a game. So it just seems like with Thibs, he has made it clear to the players what is it that he need, especially the young players, when they get on the court. And you can argue it on there's arguments to both sides of it, but it just seems like Knox doesn't have the mental makeup to withstand the demands of Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, I think that's true. You heard that coming into the draft for Knox, but if Thibs is gonna say the reason he's not playing these people or playing these players is because they're making mental lapses on defense, I mean, we gave the Clippers, we gave them the opportunity to drop 101 points in 3 quarters. So, I mean, how much worse can these younger players really be in trying to actually compete for some playing time? Reggie Bullock does not have a long-term future on this team. Like, Burks does not have a long-term future on this team. So I understand you want to win and you want to be competitive, but at the end of the day, running a franchise, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So you have to make sure, yes, that you're keeping up pace with those that you're competing against, but you also have to make sure you don't tire yourself out before you get to the end. And if we invest all this time in these younger players, not younger players, and some of these veterans that aren't going to be with us long term, when they decide to move on, what are we going to get in return for that? Because we're most likely not going to trade these players. These players are going to move on with all that experience that they developed under Thibs and playing in hard competitive games. And we're still going to be stuck with Kevin Knox, and we're still going to be stuck with Obi and these players that we're going to have to develop. So what are we going to do with them? Or why aren't we giving them enough playing time so at least we can develop them and allow them to kind of bring some of that experience with them year to year? Because right now, I don't believe Bullock is going to be with us for an extended period of time. Neither is Burke. So why are they getting most of the minutes at the 3 when we have potential options to slide in a Kevin Knox? To me, it's frustrating as a Knicks fan, frustrating as somebody that thinks these players could be more than what they're actually showing out there on the court.
Seems like you want Knox to be in the rotation.
I want him to be in the rotation. I don't know about starting, but he needs to be in the rotation. We got to see what he can do. He was the 8th overall pick, bro.
So okay, so you would be willing to basically put up with the mistakes no matter what and just give him the minutes.
We're gonna put up with IQ's mistakes. I mean, yeah, IQ's giving us a lot more than Kevin Knox is, but in order for us to fully assess what we have on this team, we have to give them opportunities, and then we have to critique them when they make mistakes and, constructive criticism so that they can build and get better. They're not going to get better sitting on the end of the bench. That's why DSJ is going to the G League, so he can get some time, get some playing time, and work on his game. Kevin Knox is not going to be able to work on his game sitting at the end of the bench looking at Alec Burks and Reggie Bullock.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't disagree. It's just it looks to be a situation of what's more important for us as Knicks fans this year. Is it the play the vets and try to win as many games as possible, or go more of the development route and play some of these young players more and just live with the results? And I just think that Thibs is looking at it the other way, because his mindset, I don't know that he prioritizes. I think he can do he believes that he can do everything, in the sense that he believes that he can still start Payton, start Bullock, play Burks a lot, and he understands they are veterans. And I think in whatever he's doing behind the scenes in practice, in the film room, he probably believes that they're gaining as much value on those sessions and playing the minutes that they are. And he probably believes that he's still developing them, although us Knicks fans don't really like the way that it's happening, because to us, we want to see them actually gain minutes on the court and play a lot. And so I think that he's just looking to win. And we'll see, because with RJ's development and the way that he's progressing, maybe he feels comfortable now putting some young players in there, like maybe eventually starting Quickley and playing some of these young guys. But I mean, when you look at players like Rivers and Bullock, I mean, like you said, I don't think they're going to be here long term. So I would like the young players to get some playing time.
Yeah, and you said maybe Thibs thinks they're getting better in the film session. So then why does it look like Kevin Knox is regressing game to game? Like Kevin Knox started the season looking, I won't say he looked good, but he looked decent. He was able to knock down a 3-point shot. And now it's like his minutes have gone down even more and more and more. I think the game before this one, what did he have? 8 minutes? He played 8 minutes in that game, and then now he's down to a DMP. And the crazy part is he only played 8 minutes. We should have seen this coming because he only played 8 minutes in a game against the Cleveland Cavaliers where we won by 20. So I can only imagine that he was not going to see much run against a team that had the potential to blow us out by 20. So, I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised, but this threw me through a loop. I'm watching the game. I'm like, where's Kevin Knox? What's going on here? Why is he not about to play? Like, there's no reason I should see Taj Gibson in his little undershirt style, and not see Kevin Knox out there balling.
Yeah, and you see Quickley is starting to earn some of those minutes after he makes mistakes from Thibs, because there's been a couple games, even the last couple games, Quickley didn't necessarily have the greatest of starts. And earlier in the season, Thibs will immediately pull him, but now he's kind of extending his minutes. He's giving him more of an opportunity. And I think Knox is a player that just needs. Thibs may not just be this just may not be his situation. He may needs to be kind of like in a Mike D'Antoni type system where it's just shoot the three. I don't care if you miss. I don't care where you shoot it from. Just play. But I don't know that I give up on him, man, because we see this happen all the time. And I mean, I don't think we're gonna regret in terms of Knox turning into a star. I'm not saying that. I don't think we're gonna look back and say, oh, Knox is becoming a star, but Knox could become a rotational player for us. Like at the very least, we can get that from him. But I mean, now it's gonna be tough, and now you've decreased. Him being on the bench getting DMPs, I don't know that that's going to even do anything to his trade value if you're even looking to get something from him. I see Knicks fans talking about, Knox, Mitchell Robinson, and 3 first-round picks for Bradley Beal. You crazy? You really think these teams are going to be looking at Knox now as any type of valuable piece? At least when he was shooting 40-something% from 3 earlier in the season, he had some value then. Now he has no value. None. Especially as the Knicks are gaining some respect around the league as a competitive team, as a potential playoff team. And then you're not even a part of that situation because you're not even playing now. So, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And, we'll see what happens. Are you on mute? Or is it me?
My fault. I was on mute. I think they're out there trying to plow. As I turn my volume down. Yeah. So, I think you had a good point there talking about Thibs tanking our younger players' value because DSJ is not playing. He's going down to the G League. And if we're going to potentially use Kevin Knox as trade bait, quote unquote, for any of these marquee talents out there, how are they going to look at our roster and they're going to say, all right, you want to give us Kevin Knox, but Kevin Knox can't beat out Alec Burks or Reggie Bullock to start? He can't even beat them out to get minutes in the rotation. And you think we're going to give up, or we're going to give up one of our best players, if not the best player on our team, for Kevin Knox and whatever spare parts you're going to want to give us? Any deal for those guys, I think, is going to have to include either RJ, Mitch, and a boatload of picks. That's why I'm off that train. I want no parts of trying to acquire another marquee talent. I don't feel like the roster is ready for a move like that. Even though Thibs is trying to steer us in that direction by giving all the minutes to these aging veterans and trying to quote unquote reach out and bring in a Derrick Rose. Like I really don't know what he's trying to do. Like where is he gonna play Derrick Rose? Is Derrick Rose gonna be the starter? We're gonna bring IQ off the bench and then where's Payton going to play? Like
yeah. I mean, if it was us to us Knicks fans, Payton wouldn't play. I guess most fans, Payton wouldn't play. I mean, I don't. Do you think the Knicks will make any moves to reinforce some of these weaknesses, or do you think they're going to stand pat?
I do think they'll make some smaller moves.
Because the way Thibs is playing, especially like I said today, if we're going to continue to see this, if Taj is going to be, when Noel is not available, if Noel struggles, Taj wasn't even going to be in the league, and he comes in and he's playing. That's what I'm saying. The fans you have to see the signs. He's interested in Derrick Rose. You see the connection there. He signs Taj Gibson, comes in, immediately plays. You see the connection there. Burks and Bullock are back. Knox, you're out of here. You see the connection there. Like he's coming here to win. He's coming here to win. And this could be part of who he is, or it could be part of also just the grand master plan from the front office where the culture to them is even more so more important, that is even more of a priority than even the young players on this team. They may have just told Thibs, do whatever you need to do, but we need to stop this. We're going to be the laughing stock in mainstream media. We need to change the culture. And to Thibs, changing the culture could mean I'm going to do what I need to do to win. You guys hired me. You knew what you were getting yourself into. You know what I mean? And this is the way it's going to be. So if that is the way it's going to be, and we are going to continue to be competitive, and we're hovering around 500 in March, do we make a move?
I think they'll make a move, but I don't think it'll be a major move like some people are seeing or hearing the rumors. I don't think we're going after a Levine Bill, at least not mid-season. Maybe in the offseason, we might decide to go that route, but right now, maybe they might go out and bring in some depth pieces. Like that's who you might see the Knicks try to move some of these younger players that aren't finding minutes.
Like
they'll
a
probably see, but I don't think we would get a Derrick Rose because I think other teams want Derrick Rose because Derrick Rose can still contribute to a contending team. They're gonna end up bidding the price up, and if the Knicks do end up going after a Derrick Rose and succeeding in acquiring him, it's gonna cost us more than I would like. Because
you think Derrick Rose is going to cost a lot?
If other teams are looking to acquire him, remember last offseason teams were looking to acquire Derrick Rose and the Pistons decided to stand pat. So if you see multiple teams trying to bring in a player of that caliber to make a championship push, then yeah, the price is going to go up. You're going to have to look, is what the Knicks offering going to be a better value than a late first? Not saying we're going to trade a late first, but a contending team that thinks Derrick Rose is going to put them over the edge, they're going to offer a late first. So is anything the Knicks have outside of our draft picks going to be a better proposition than a playoff contending team's late first?
That would be, I mean, I would be surprised if they even get that for Derrick Rose, to be honest with you. Only for the fact that, Derrick Rose seems to be comfortable with a backup role. And I don't know that he's even a starter anymore. You can't even, I don't know that you could even tell me that if he went to a team like the Clippers, that he would even start over Patrick Beverley, to be honest with you. So, I just feel like, I mean, I think he could be had for cheap, maybe a marginal player and a second round pick. But in terms of the Knicks, I think that, and we were discussing this before, and I brought up the angle. A lot of people were bringing up different angles. I said, what if the Knicks have already scoured the market of free agents, point guards in this upcoming free agency, and they don't think that they're going to get one, right? So the Knicks don't think that they're going to be able to sign a free agent point guard. First of all, the free agent point guard class of this year is not at all attractive. We're not going to get a difference maker, right? You're looking at Lonzo Ball. He's a restricted free agent, and he's probably going to be traded because I don't think that the Pelicans will match any offer because it doesn't look like they want him as part of their future. You have Mike Conley. Mike Conley, a year older. Are you going to give Mike Conley big money for 2 years? You know, so what I think could be one of the reasons is Derrick Rose is someone that you can bring in, right? And Thibs probably would start him and feel comfortable with that. And you have insurance policy for next year, depending on what the draft gives us. If the draft gives us that point guard that everyone wants with the Jalen Suggs and the Cade Cunninghams, and then Derrick Rose is a veteran insurance policy. And
I think Derrick Rose, this is last year, so we'd have to re-sign him too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you would, and you would think you could re-sign him maybe to another 1-year deal, or maybe a small kind of give him maybe a Rivers contract. What Rivers is 3 years, but it's not really 3 years. I think it's like 1 year and 2 options. So you may be able to give him that because I think the Knicks are looking ahead and they're looking at what they feel they can get in free agency. And if they don't feel that they're going to be able to sign someone in free agency, then they may look at the trade market now, because you don't want to get to free agency and then have the same thing that has happened every single year with the Knicks, which is they strike out. And then you're looking at a Gordon Hayward late in the free agency, and now you're offering a 3rd year to Gordon Hayward. You're overpaying or offering an extra year to a player that maybe you didn't even want in the first place. But because you're striking out, now your hand is forced to act. So I think the Knicks are looking ahead now, and they're looking at the free agency market. They can't think about the draft because they don't know where they're going to land at. I mean, it's looking good right now with the Mavericks, but we don't know yet. So I think the Knicks are going to look at who they can get, and that's why you see them rumored a lot with Lonzo Ball. You see them rumored a lot with Derrick Rose. I think you'll see them rumored with another point guard that'll pop up in rumors soon. But from what this front office has shown me so far, especially with the Westbrook, which I think was very tempting for them, and they'll never say it, but I think the Westbrook
shouldn't have been tempting.
But I think it was just because of Tom Thibodeau. I think with Thibodeau's attitude, I think it was tempting. But what they've shown me so far is they'll make a move for their price. If it's not their price or close to it, they're not going to make the move. And that to me is encouraging so far.
So JD, you said a team like, what was it, the Clippers wouldn't trade for Derrick Rose and he wouldn't be a starter per se. Was it the Clippers?
No, I said they would. Yeah, no, I said I said that if Rose would be on the Clippers, I don't know that he would be a starter for their team over Patrick Beverley.
So then, as a Knicks fan, if he's not going to start for a legitimate championship contender, what is he going to do with us? Like, that's why I don't understand why there's that connection with Derrick Rose. He's not going to start on a legitimate championship contender. So we're going to bring him in just so we can act like we're actually competing for something other than an early exit. Like, I don't really, like, it doesn't connect the dots for me. Lonzo Ball connects the dots. Lonzo's a young asset that you can bring in, see if he works with the system, and then, let him go out into the market, see what everybody else would offer him, and I think you would still have the ability to match. That makes sense to me because, he's a young player. You can see how he works with our team, and it may not cost something crazy like a Zach LaVine or a Bradley Beal deal. It would be a much cheaper, and then you can have him with the team, see how he operates with a Mitch, how he operates with an Obi, 2 players that would benefit the most from a player like a Lonzo Ball, and then make that decision in the offseason if you want to extend him and have him as a piece of our core. But with Thibs looking at a Derrick Rose, I just don't see how he fits our trajectory. We're at the beginning stages of building a contender, and Derrick Rose should be a 6th or 7th man off the bench for a legitimate title contender. He just doesn't fit where we're trying to go as a team.
Yeah, I agree. With Ball, I'm torn on Ball, man. I'm torn. Days I wake up, I say, go get him. And then days I wake up and I say, nah, man, nah, LeVar Ball. You want that drama here, man? You want them tweets? You know, and you know too, you know what'll happen. He'll come to New York, and then the media, ESPN, FS1, CBS Sports, they'll be looking for LeVar Ball interviews. They're going to be looking for him. And you see, that's what people don't talk about. In New Orleans, nobody in New Orleans, there's no radio stations in New Orleans calling LeVar Ball asking him for his input because nobody cares out there. But in New York, let the Knicks have a 3-game losing streak and let LeVar Ball come here, let Lonzo Ball come here and let Thibs play him 15 minutes in one game. And watch how the New York Post, Mark Berman, and all these people try to call LeVar Ball to see what he thinks about that. So that is what concerns me about having Alonzo Ball come here, because I'm not trying to hear LeVar Ball talking about now maybe you guys gonna get LaMelo, and now you can get LiAngelo, and now you got the 3, and now y'all gonna win a championship. I ain't trying to hear that, man. I'm not trying to hear that. You know what I mean? So that's what concerns me about, and that's off the court. On the court, you know, I've come to the realization that I may not want a point guard that can't shoot, period. I don't care how good you are in anything else. If you can't shoot, part of me says I'll pass. And Lonzo Ball right now is struggling from the perimeter. And although he has the other qualities that we feel we need to activate some of our other players to kind of maybe play a little faster, to get into a more of a rhythm, to create more highlights. It's just the shooting aspect of it. Like, if Lonzo Ball comes tomorrow, you think teams will stop playing the zone against us? No. You know what I mean? So I think at some point you just look for a certain quality, and it's a shooting league. And I just want a point guard that can also shoot as part of his arsenal. And if you can't shoot, Derrick Rose, bye. Lonzo Ball, I'm torn, but I'm leaning by.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree with you. I would only pick up Alonzo in a trade if I had the option between a Derrick Rose and Alonzo. I just feel Lonzo fits where we're heading as a team, at least with the core, as opposed to Derrick Rose only fitting in, I think, with some of those veteran players. So I agree, and the same thing with LeVar with the access to New York media is going to be trouble. We saw what he was doing over in LA, and New York is arguably a larger media. It is actually. New York is a larger media market than LA. I think New York's number one. Go ahead.
And the East Coast. You got the East Coast shows. A lot of the scheduling is kind of East Coast friendly because there's a larger audience and ratings on the East Coast. And LeVar Ball was doing a lot of talking before LeBron won a championship for them, but he's pretty quiet now because he can't say anything. But before that, he was on First Take. He was everywhere. He even said some things about LeBron ain't winning a chip without Lonzo. What do you think he's gonna say here? Like, who is the other star that we have that can control any narrative that LeVar could put out there? And you think he's gonna say no? You think they're not gonna look at this also as a business opportunity? You think LeVar is gonna no? So that is a concern for me from that end. Being that we are building a positive atmosphere around the league, players are starting to notice it. Again, the record is not the greatest, but the way that we are improving and we're showing development, even in a game like today, where the game was a lot closer than what the final score dictates. It was a lot closer than what it was. It was a lot more competitive than what the final score says. It's things are turning slowly, and I don't know that Alonzo move will solve the issues, because what's going to happen is we'll get Lonzo here, and there'll be a little bit of excitement, but then if he's bricking shots, everybody's going to say, well, we need a shooter now. And I just feel like at this point, if we're not going to get a star point guard or a star prospect at point guard, just leave it the way it is and just roll with the punches. Start Quickley if you want. If you don't want to start him, whatever. Just play Quickley more minutes. But if you're not going to get a star point guard, not a mid-tier point guard, not a backup point guard, not an over-the-hill Mike Conley, if we're not going to get a star point guard via trade or a young ascending point guard via trade, and we're not going to get a star prospect, then let it be, because we're not going to solve the issue the way that we think we are by getting stopgaps. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's something that the Knicks do time and time again. We get stopgaps instead of actually solving the problem. And you know, like I said, I hear what you're saying with Lonzo. I heard what you said with Derrick Rose, but I'd rather, like you said, stand pat. Neither one of those. I think I made videos on both of them, and in both of them, I said we have the options internally. It's just the Knicks and Thibodeau allowing some of our players to actually have free reign out there and having a little bit more time on the court to show us what they can do. And Thibs, time and time again, has decided he's going to ride with his veterans. And, you know, yeah, the team's been competitive, but even if we were trying to make some moves in the offseason, if we're not showcasing our talent, I highly doubt any free agent is going to come over here and say, oh, yeah, that's cool. I want to play with a Nerlens Noel, with a Reggie Bullock, with a Alec Burks. Like, yeah, you know, Julius Randle's the star of this team, but you still have to take into account the supporting cast when you decide to come over. And outside of Julius Randle, RJ, and IQ, Thibs has not done much to showcase the rest of this roster. So even if we were to go into offseason next year and try to bring in some talent, they're going to come in here and they're going to say, all right, I see your roster. You have Randle, you have Obi, you have RJ, and you have some other pieces here and there. But what are you going to present to me as a free agent that's going to make me feel like you're taking the steps toward championship contention? And outside of those draft picks, Thibs isn't really doing anything with the roster we have now to really unlock their potential and really make that an attractive piece to this team. Because if you look at the Nets, if you look at their roster before they went and brought in some of those stars, KD, Kyrie, Harden, they had very attractive pieces on their roster first that they helped cultivate, which is why I wanted Atkinson. Atkinson showed he's able to work with guards and a Russell, and he's also able to work with Dinwiddie, LeVert, etc. So I felt like he would have been able to unlock some of this potential, and then in this upcoming offseason, then we could have attracted some free agents. We could have attracted some stars via trades or have assets to move via trade. Right now, when we come to this offseason, nobody's going to be an attractive piece outside of our untouchables. So I really don't know what Thibs is trying to do, what route he's trying to take. Like, I understand he's trying to win, but he's being very short-sighted with that goal. He's just looking toward the end of the season. But as a fan of the team, I know that it's not just the end of the season that we're going to have to worry about. We're going to have to worry about what we're going to do, you know, moving forward. And it's frustrating, honestly.
Yeah, half this team is going to be free agents at the end of the year.
Yeah,
in terms of,
I think we have like 70-something million cap space, I think.
yeah, the main guys that he's playing may not be here, you know, and so that's a good point. You know, we have some young players that are under contract, are going to be under contract, and you would think that you would push to get those guys developed because you understand also the finances part of it, where you're trying to develop some guys that you know are under contract next year and that you know are going to be tough to trade if you want to trade them. Because on one end, you could probably give away Knox tomorrow, but then it doesn't look right. You know, like you're going to give him away. It doesn't look right to trade a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, you know, 9th overall pick. So it's like, why not, you know, try to play him? But then again, he has to do his part. And Knox has been very frustrating on the court.
Very
frustrating.
Yeah. Honestly, I want to talk on the fact that they had to switch and put Kawhi on IQ. This is the second or third time they've had to put their best defender on IQ out there.
You stole my thunder because I was gonna say.
Oh, my bad, bro.
No. It's cool. No, what I mean in terms of, I was gonna say, you know, when is the moment that I knew that the Knicks got a steal in the first round, the moment that I knew that the Knicks just got a steal in the first round is the moment that the Clippers decided to put Kawhi Leonard on Emmanuel Quickley. Like, just think about it as just the names that I gave you, just the pedigree. That's probably laughable to think. Kawhi, you got to put Kawhi, the Clippers have to put Kawhi on Quickley. Like, they really had to make that adjustment. And the funny part of it is we don't know if that was something that Kawhi decided to do because he was fed up, or we don't know if that's something Ty Lue decided to do. Either or,
Ty Lue don't run that team.
Yeah, either or, it still tells you though what the impact that Quickley is having on the court. So while we Knicks fans are over here arguing about whether he's a point guard or combo guard, guess what? These other teams now are trying to figure out, you know what, how are we going to slow him down when he gets hot? You know, these other teams are figuring out how are we going to defend this guy when he keeps doing all this trickery and he's a rookie and he's getting these calls. You know, and this is how James Harden started. I'm not comparing to James Harden. I'm talking about the veteran savviness. This is how Trae Young is trending. Luka Doncic, these players in terms of their ability to be savvy and learning how to use the refs and the way the game is ref today to their advantage. Lou Williams did that a lot, and IQ said that himself. So I think that moment when Kawhi, and there was another game where Okoro, when we played the Cavs, Okoro, he's a rookie, but he's a defensive player. Mm-hmm. So you're starting to see this is going to be now the next step, the next level for Quickley that's going to be interesting to watch, because now you're going to start to see if he continues this play and his minutes start tickering up, it's going to be interesting to see now what adjustment he makes, because you're going to start to see teams game planning with their best defensive players. Now you're going to start to see forwards, 6'6", 6'7" forwards, wings coming at you. So now we're going to be able to see what that next adjustment level is going to be for him. And if he can get through that, then I know we hate to use the word, but we may be having a little star coming up. You know, you never know. You never know, bro.
I hear you. I won't go that far and say he's a star. I like I like what I've seen from him. I think I fall in the camp where I think he's gonna be a nice player off the bench for us. Nice sixth man, I think, is where he's gonna be. But right now, based on this roster and who we have on his team, I'm still going to say he's the best option at point guard, and he has star qualities. But is he going to be able to do this consistently? You know, the jury is still out. And what's going to make him a legitimate star is if he can do this night in and night out. We've seen him have good games, and then we've seen him have stinkers, you know, shortly thereafter. I think after he went up for 31, what did he have? Like, what did he go, 1 for 11 the game after? Or something to that effect? So we've seen him have roller coaster rides, and I think to see him have Kawhi be put on him to shut him down is like something that you, as a Knicks fan, it's like, damn, I really haven't seen a rookie command that kind of respect out there, especially as a Knicks fan. So to see him put that kind of fear in the Clippers' heart, like, all right, game's getting out of hand, we got to throw Kawhi at him. It's like, yo, that's dope to see. Like, it's dope to see that. It's dope to see him have that moment with Lou Williams as his favorite player, where they're able to dap it up. So, you know, I know he has shown to certain people that he can be a star. I just think we have to pump the brakes just a little bit and allow him to find himself, allow him to find his role here with the Knicks. And once we understand what his role is and what he can become, then we can start putting some titles on him and some tags on him. Because if you're going to say he's a star now and it turns out that he's just going to be the first guard off the bench, then things might start to spiral downhill when it comes to the media and how they portray him.
Yeah, he definitely, I mean, my expectations of him, I see him as a Lou Williams, Terry Rozier in Boston, that version of Terry Rozier in Boston where he was off the bench scorer. That's what I see for him as my early ceiling. And I say early because he's showing a lot of impressive moves and ability as a rookie. But as of right now, yes, Star is getting too excited. We need, but I think for him seeing Kawhi on him, I think mentally will be a great thing for him to see, because it gives him that inner confidence that, wow, like I got a Kawhi is on me. And that's going to give him confidence in terms of how he's progressing for us.
Yeah, it shows that he belongs.
Yep.
It's like confirmation, because I know he feels he belongs, but then to be out there on the court with his own favorite player and to be then guarded by arguably one of the best defenders in the NBA, like if I was a basketball player growing up, that would be like a dream come true. The only thing he was missing were fans in Madison Square Garden. That's the only thing he was missing, and it would have been perfect.
And Keith, you know what's gonna happen after
What
all
happened?
this? After all this, we just talked about him, and all these comparisons, and all this hype. You know what's gonna happen next game? Thibs is gonna put him in with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. You know that's what's gonna happen.
It
You
makes
know that's
no
what's gonna
sense.
happen.
It makes
You
no
know that's
sense.
what's gonna happen.
And like when you
He's
watch the film, it's like Peyton is not giving you half of what IQ is out there giving you, and you continue to try to trot him out there as the starting point guard for no legitimate reason. Like he still hasn't given us a legitimate reason. He just keeps cutting. He likes what Peyton gives us on the court. Like, okay, what does he give you then, Thibs? I'm waiting. Tell me what he gives us. Defense, Lillard gave him 14 on his head in 1 quarter. Perfection. So what is he giving us, Thibs? You keep going up there on your podium and you're telling you like what he gives us. Please explain, break it down to the common fan what he's giving us, because I don't really see it out there on the court.
And here's the other thing that I've been hearing a lot. And again, just for the record, I am of the Dick fans that if you're gonna start Peyton, fine, whatever. But it's all about the way that you distribute the minutes. You're gonna start Peyton, fine. Take him out at the 6-7 minute mark. You know what I mean? Let Quickley finish the game. Like, you know, that's how I want to see it if you're gonna start Peyton. But the thing that people like to say a lot, especially when we started the season, is Alfred Payton is a veteran leadership. He's been in the league for 7 years, and that's why he should start. He can organize the offense. The young guys quickly can learn from his veteran leadership. That is an asset to the team. Well, that's funny because, you know, I have here noted 6 minute and 50-second mark in the third quarter. Alfred Payton hits a three, right? He hits a three, which means he contributed to the score. He contributed to a play. A timeout is called, and they show on the TV him sulking as he's going to the bench. And it's an observation that I've been monitoring over the past this season, but more closely this game and over the past few games, is he has horrific body language. I mean, people want to talk about Kevin Knox's body language. Alfred Payton looks sometimes that he doesn't even want to be out there. And sometimes, I mean, you may ask, is it because is it the fans? You know, he's on social media. It's COVID. You know, these guys are watching. Is he upset? Is he just not happy to be here? Is that just part of his play, who he is, in terms of that's just the atmosphere and the vibes that he gives off? But how can you tell me this veteran leadership angle when he doesn't even exhibit positive body language? How can a young player look at that and learn from that? How can that stimulate? Like, how can that? I don't understand this angle. And people like to use these cliches just because a player has been in the league for a certain amount of years. They get this automatic tag, and it's like valid. No, it's not valid for Alfred Payton, because even when he is struggling, he could still be a leader out there. And if he's not being a leader and he's not giving positive body language and he's not talking because he's not vocal, then what is he really bringing to the team other than being a 6'4" point guard with some strength and can play decent defense? What else is he bringing to the team? That's what I don't understand. And I don't understand what else is he bringing to the team to warrant him starting games and playing the first 8-9 minutes of the game. I don't get it. I don't get it.
All right, before I get into my response, I just want to give a shout out to 23 Blade for the super chat. He says, Peyton doesn't share IQ ever from my observation. And that's because he knows his time in New York is coming to an end pretty soon. He's he knows what's coming. He knows that IQ is clearly giving us a lot more than Alfred Payton could ever. So, like you were saying, Payton, like his body language, you would expect that from somebody who knows that there's a young gun barking at your heels. So, of course, he's not going to be happy. And I feel like Thibs, the reason he might be sticking to Payton is to kind of keep the locker room intact, because these players, they are teammates, but they are also competing with one another for minutes and for playing time. So you would hope Alfred Payton, being a veteran, would have cheered on IQ. But you got to remember, Alfred Payton is still also playing for a job. Not this year per se, but this is a contract year for him. So if he ends the season on the bench, that's going to drastically impact the next contract he's going to sign with whoever he decides to go stink the court up for. So if I was him, I would be very upset as well that IQ is coming in here and now he's starting to play more minutes, because let's be honest, he's playing for his livelihood. He's playing for his next contract. He's playing for his next job. So you can expect him to be a little bit upset out there, but as a veteran, you would hope that he would, have a little bit more professionalism and have some better body language.
Yeah, and I mean, he's playing to be in the league, because when he was a free agent, there wasn't much interest, and somehow we still gave him a no trade clause. And I mean, I don't think, I mean, in terms of the game today, he wasn't. I don't think he was even in the top 5 reasons or top 3 reasons, top 3 to 4 on why we lost the game. We didn't play great defense. The Clippers shot threes galore. But in terms of looking at it just from a long-term perspective at the position, I don't think that, obviously he is, and many fans don't like him. I'm focusing on the things that they say he brings, veteran leadership and all that stuff. I think it's overblown, because, and shout out to Stephen Fox. Just a comment that I wanted to highlight. He says, that's not true. Unsolicited. Quickly said Payton has been incredibly helpful behind the scenes at practice. And that's great, but I don't believe it.
Facts. They say a lot of things to the media.
Right. Just because a player says it, how many times do you see veteran players, when a young player is struggling, they in their media sessions, they're telling you how hard they're working in practice and that they're going to be okay. We heard everybody say it about Knox. We heard everybody say it, about RJ last year, and RJ has been able to develop. But how many times do you see this around the league where teammates are just being teammates, especially in the media? They're not going to say anything negative. You know what I mean? So although it could be happening, but this is the thing. What we see 48 minutes on the court, we don't see Alfred Payton talking. We don't see him leading. I don't see him, pulling him aside, talking to him when he's coming up. I don't see it. So I'm supposed to believe that somehow in practice is when he's doing it, but then why not do it in a game? So I just feel that although it could be true, I just think, in the NBA, players are always going to be professional, cliche-ish, and they're always going to be, more LeBron says it all the time about players, and half the players he doesn't really, sometimes he says everybody's good. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
He normally says that right before he ships you off your team.
Exactly. He said that about all those young Laker players that got traded for Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
He said, we're good. Nobody's distracted. And yeah, Brandon Ingram is on JJ Redick's podcast. And he said, the locker room was different when those Anthony Davis rumors. Nobody was really united like that because all we heard about was all these rumors. So how do you expect us to really perform the way we were supposed to perform with all these distractions?
And that's why I find it troublesome, the fact that we have those rumors swirling around our players. Like the fact that you have these rumors swirling and now Kevin Knox is getting no minutes. Like you can understand with players that are under 23, 22 years old that noise starts to get to them. Because I can only imagine as an NBA player that somebody tells you against your will, you now have to pack everything up and move to a different part of the country. So like I can understand how that can wear on you, because if I'm at my job and at any minute they can say, yo, next week you're gonna have to fly to such and such because that's where you're gonna be working now full time permanently. I'd have been like, that's what? So yeah. I can understand how that can throw you off your game completely. So I would rather the team try to shut these rumors down, let these players know that this is our team moving forward, and try to not getting into those games where we have to continually hear about this person's on the trading block, that person's on the trading block. Because with the New York media, it's 24/7 out here.
I mean, yeah, especially here in New York. I mean, I'm even hearing stuff of Quickley getting traded. As hard as that may be. Yeah, like, I mean.
Oh, you heard that here first, y'all. Somebody said Quickley fell to get traded. I never heard that one. That's news.
Right. But I'm saying in terms of Knicks Twitter, Knicks Nation, like fans are literally bringing up certain offers in order to get Bradley Beal or Zach LaVine. Like, this is what you deal with when you're here. You know what I mean? In terms of, okay, we're going to do this package and everybody wants to do a trade package. And I'm like, listen, man, I hope as an organization that, we're honest with the players. It's hard though, because you saw Caris LeVert with the Nets. I thought Caris LeVert was going to be a player the Nets were going to build around, and you see where that ended up. And so RJ is a guy that has been in the middle of a lot of these potential trades, because a lot of people are saying, well, if you're going to try to get a Bradley Beal, if you're going to try to get a Devin Booker, if he ever becomes disgruntled, because that's something to watch. Maybe not this year because of Chris Paul, but the Phoenix Suns don't really look like they were hyped to be so far. So that can change because Chris Paul's not going to be there forever. When you're looking at Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, well, let's see what happens to Portland. I know everybody says that Dame is a lifelong Portland Trailblazers. You never know. Things. Look what happened with the Rockets and James Harden. Who thought that? I mean, I thought he would get traded maybe, but who thought he was going to come out and say I want to go to Brooklyn? So things happen. Every year, there's going to be one or two disgruntled stars or potential stars. Zion. I could totally see Zion asking for a trade in his rookie contract. You think Zion, like, look at the way the Pelicans are playing. Next year, they on the hot seat. That's why the Pelicans are trying to be active. You don't think the Pelicans realize that they are on the clock with Zion? They realize that. They just went through it with Anthony Davis. So there's going to be opportunity for the Knicks to improve. But I think that RJ is a player that's going to deal with a lot of this stuff, because right now he is, you would say, our biggest asset. He's our most marketable asset as well, in terms of us being able to tell another team this is a player you can build around, kind of like a Caris LeVert. But I'm not trading RJ. I am not trading RJ. That dude is improving. Free throw shooting, improving drastically. He is getting so much better, so fast. He's only 20. I'm not trading him. I don't know about you, Keys, but he's staying here. At
I'm
least
not
right now.
trading him either. But let me just shout out Carl Jean Baptiste. He said, "Why the fellas ain't responding to the chat though?" Because we're having conversation, and it wasn't a Q&A segment. You guys weren't really asking us questions. You guys were having your conversation in the chat based on what we were talking about, and we were just discussing Knicks over here. But I apologize if you felt neglected. My fault.
Yeah,
I'm here
yeah.
for the chat.
I'm looking at it, and a lot of my points are being based on what you guys are saying.
Yeah, exactly. You guys were kind of steering the line of conversation without us actually breaking the actual discussion to bring up what you guys were saying in the chat.
Yeah. I highlighted Stephen Fox's comment. I wrote to you, Carl, on the chat. You saw that comment. If you have a question, let us know. We'll definitely get to it.
Definitely. That'll probably be the last segment. So if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat, and then we'll answer them real quick before we log off. But that's crazy. You really heard people saying that we should trade Quickley?
I'm telling you. I mean, the people that have this whole dilemma about him guard or all this other stuff, like they're saying, we could trade him and get Bradley Beal.
But what I don't understand is if he's not a pure point guard, why do they think that's the only way you can benefit a team? You can benefit a team by not being a quote unquote floor general. You can still be a competent player, play the one, and still be able to find teammates when you need to and shoot the ball lights out.
There's people that don't believe. They don't think that, some don't think that this is actually, something that could be real. Because what happens is, again, there's some fans that in their mind, they have this mind that we have to have this pure point guard, and Quickley is not necessarily that right now. I don't think that he'll ever be that. And then he goes to this hot streak. They don't believe in it. And then they say, well, sell high, kind of like the Randall thing. Sell high. Now is an opportunity. Maybe we can throw him in a package, and we don't have to trade RJ. And we can package him with some picks and get this type of star player. That's all nonsense, but it happens. It's out there. It's definitely out there. Did you see the report right before we started the show? I saw a report that JJ Redick,
Yeah,
has
three teams. Nets. Who else?
he has the Knicks as part of his 4 teams.
Oh, I see. They had the 3 teams. They never dropped the 4th team.
The 4th team is the Knicks.
But before I get into that, I want to say shout out to Charlie Dorsch. The fact that people are looking for my rebuild videos is dope. I didn't even think people really paid that much attention to him. But he said, I know it's not the off season, so you're not posting your rebuild vids. But let's say it was the off season. How would you rebuild our team based off what has happened during this season? If you guys want me to continue, tinkering with the roster, I can do that. I can still post some edited videos. I haven't really been surveying the landscape, to be honest with you, to give you a educated breakdown on how I would adjust the roster. So, Charlie, if you want, I'll create an edited video. Take the time something like that really needs to give you something that's really of value. And then I'll post it as an edited video. Or maybe I'll come on during the next live and kind of figure out the technical details, and maybe I'll break down a realistic rebuild for one of the episodes. So thank you for pulling that up or bringing that up.
Shout out to Stephen Fox. He says, Keys and JD, great show. Take care. Take it easy, Stephen. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting. We apologize to everyone in terms of if the presentation of the stream looks a little choppy, some technical difficulties going on behind the scenes. But please stay tuned, keep supporting. We have a lot of good things coming up for you guys. So thank you for supporting and thank you for following us.
And thank you for holding it down too, even with the choppy presentation. I think we hit like 50 in the chat at one point.
Yeah.
So thank you for still showing support. That's greatly appreciated, even with the difficulties. Because I ain't even going front. After stuff started getting to my head, I'm like, man, I've been up all day trying to get this set up correctly. And now as we're ready to go on air, it decides it wants to screw me over. But thank you guys for holding it down and helping us continue to make great content and continuing to help me come on here every weekend and do this, because I only do it to connect with my viewers and the people that watch my videos and are always commenting. Shout out to you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You have any more questions? Yeah, shout out to Nudie25. Hit them likes, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do so. I do film session videos, like Charlie mentioned. I do realistic rebuilds. I saw something about 2K. Amen. The rebuild videos were my favorite series you made. I used to rebuild the Knicks on 2K and do what you said, man. I would love to see another one of those videos. Yeah, I'll definitely continue to work on them. I didn't know people still wanted some videos like that. So maybe I'll do some trade scenarios and things like that. Thank you for letting me know. That's why I like coming on this live, because I get to interact with you guys. You guys get to tell me what you want. That way I can structure a channel that you guys get the most value from. Thank you, May 4th. Everyone got to hit the like.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Belly says, I will take 25 to 30 wins and development of culture. What do you think, JD?
I tell you what, Brooklyn Belly, if we can get that mass pick to be a lottery pick, I'm signing up for that right now. Signing up for that right now.
Imagine 2 top 10 picks.
See, the Dallas is something to watch. And it's because Luka Doncic is getting frustrated out there. He has some interesting quotes yesterday after the game where he said that, basically alluding to the fact that he doesn't think some of the players in Dallas care right now. He was questioning their effort. And so that is something to watch at this point, because they are a little, I mean, if you're looking for the exact quote, Luka Doncic yesterday said, "Terrible. There's really not much to say. I never felt like this. We got to do something, because this is not looking good, and we got to step up and just talk to each other and play better than this. It's mostly effort. I would say right now it's looking like we don't care, honestly, if we win games or not. That's not good. That is not good for a team that has lost, I think it's 5 in a row. And so they had high expectations. I really don't care what the issues are in the locker room, because it's not my problem. I care about that pick, baby. And so if they continue to struggle, I'm not gonna apologize. And if that turns to be a lottery, like, I can already see it happening, right? Dallas misses the playoffs. It's the 11th or 9th pick projected. Lottery night is here, and the ping pong balls, boom, Knicks move up to the top 3, top 4. And now we've had a season of competitive basketball, development. We know we know RJ's a piece to build around. Hopefully by then, Obi has made some strides. Quickley is balling. And then we get a top 4 pick. You imagine that? Oof. Oof. You think this Dallas thing is something to watch, Keith, or you think they're gonna turn it around?
But before I get into it, I just want to say shout out to Anthony Vasquez for the $5 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Anything invested into the channel gets reinvested into the channel. So thank you for the support. It's greatly appreciated. And JD, to get into your point.
And real quick before you start, just to piggyback of what you were saying, because he was asking, just continue to follow the Twitter account as well. And that's not only for Anthony Vasquez, that's for everyone. As you know, as we start building this thing, sometimes a schedule and things can change. So we'll be posting it on the social media, on our Twitter account. and just continue to follow the channels and just keep searching for those updates, and we'll be here to continue to give you guys that content.
Facts. And also, we're looking to build upon another show that's going to stream during the weekdays, but this one will not just be focused solely on the Knicks. We're just going to be talking about all New York City sports in general, or tri-state sports. So stay tuned for that. That's in the works, and that's something we're going to be bringing to you guys on the weekdays. So JD, what was I talking about again? The Mav situation, right?
We were going off the Brooklyn Belly situation of, I guess his perfect scenario would be 25 to 30 wins and development, and I was alluding to the fact that that Dallas pick could be, because remember before the season, the narrative was when we were winning, people were upset because nobody thought that the Dallas pick was actually potentially a lottery pick as is looking at right now. So everybody was upset that we were winning. Well, not everybody. A group of fans were upset that we were winning because they want Cade. They want that top 5 pick. Well, now the way it's trending, we may not have to worry about that. What do you think?
I'm fine with 2 lottery draft picks. I came into the season not expecting the Mavs to be as bad as they have been so far. You know, they looked decent enough in the bubble over the playoffs. So to have them come and, I know KP's injured to start the year, but I thought Luka was going to go out there and hold it down. Rick Carlisle's a championship winning coach. I thought they were going to be legitimate playoff contenders, but for now, with them being fringe contenders and right there on the edge of things, I hope they're going to lose because, of course, the worse they do, the better our chances are. And even if, let's say, we don't get a top 5, top 10 pick from the Mavs, the higher their pick is, the more valuable it would be for us to include it in maybe another trade with picks to move up and select that player that we think is the one, as opposed to making us taking shots at 2 picks maybe later on in the first round if both teams are playing well and close to playoff contention. So if we have a more valuable pick with the Mavs that we can pair with something else and move up to a top 3 to get, who's projected, Suggs, Cunningham, any one of those players, then yeah, that's going to be beneficial for us. I just expect them to eventually get it together. I mean, I'm hoping they don't, but with the talent of a Luka Doncic and with KP getting back into the groove of things, of course he's going to be rusty, fresh off that injury to not the same knee he injured while he was with us. This is the exact opposite knee. So he's got some issues there, but I expect them to work it out.
I mean, I think it's really up in the air because they've been struggling. I've watched some of their games because aside from Knicks, I watch as many games as I can. I watch all the national TV games when they come on, and sometimes I stream some of the other games. And I think it's actually something to watch. It's very concerning the way they're playing. Porzingis' health is a question mark, and so they have pressure because the more you dig yourself in the hole, it's going to be, interesting how the players react. Sometimes players give in, and also it's going to put more pressure on Porzingis in terms of him being forced to play more, and him feeling that he has to play in order for the team to start winning. And what that can do is that can force some things. And if he gets another injury, then you know how they're doing it this year. Because remember, at this point, Dallas probably doesn't care. Dallas doesn't care about this Knicks pick. They don't have the pick. All they're worried about is what they can do in the Western Conference so that they can make Luka Doncic happy. And that's their concern. They're not worried about the pick. So they're going to be looking to win as many games as possible. However, if Porzingis gets hurt in a COVID season, there's some teams that are going to punt this season soon, just because it's just an odd season. Some games are going the way, there's so many lopsided wins and lopsided games and unexpected upsets and all this stuff, all this COVID and health protocols. Jimmy Butler just came back yesterday after missing so much time. Jason Tatum just came back after missing so much time. So it's just an odd season. Look at these records. There's a lot of parity going on in the league. So with this draft, you're going to see a lot of teams punt. As soon as a player gets hurt, they're not going to risk it. So Porzingis is something to watch for Knicks fans in terms of what that will do potentially to the record. And as far as this team, listen, I want development, but in order for us to get development, Thibs is going to have to start playing some of these players a little bit more.
Did you see how much? I thought you had finished. My fault.
I was going to finish basically saying I want to start seeing Obi play a little bit more, but then it's tough to say that because I don't know that. Killing. Yeah, Randall's killing. Also, it seems to be that the Knicks are playing a system more so than there's a system that's designed on their strengths. In other words, everybody is playing Thibs' system, Thibs' playbook, and it doesn't seem like the playbook is designed for them. So, for example, Obi will come in. So Obi comes in, let's call 45. I'm just making it up. Let's call 45. 45 is a play designed to get Obi a pick, drive to the basket, or a post up or whatever. But the point is, there doesn't seem to be a system that is going to get certain players in a position to succeed or excel. It's more about this is the system. This is what you guys are going to play. And you guys have to fit into the system, kind of like a Bill Belichick type thing, where Bill Belichick has a system. Everybody has to play within that system more so than we're going to, play to player strengths. So in that sense, it's going to be interesting to watch. But I would like to see the players, Obi get a little bit more minutes and see what that development looks like.
Yeah, I like the fact that you brought that up. Like the fact that Thibs has everybody running his system and he hasn't really created anything that kind of works to accentuate some of these players' strengths. Like I've been saying in all of my edited videos, like we have to get Obi attacking the basket. Every time they're dialing things up with Obi into play, Obi's like leaking out to like the elbow to shoot a catch and shoot fade. Or I mean, not a catch and shoot fade, but he's doing like a pick and fade where he's catching the ball at the elbow to shoot, or he's running out to the corner three. When I think we should get him rolling to the basket a lot more, and you're going to see him have a lot more success. They're using him completely wrong. And then people, they watch the video and they're like, oh, do you know more than Thibs? I'm like, nah, I don't know more than Thibs, but I can look at basketball and say, all right, this player's skill set is not being put in the best predicament to succeed. And time again, Thibs has done that with the entire roster. And before I cut you off earlier, I was just going to say with the Rona season, have you seen how Jimmy Butler looks after he got caught up with that? Only lost 12 pounds, they said.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But I understand why they want to, pump the brakes on certain things. I was kind of getting nervous to see if the season was actually going to be finished, completed to its entirety. Because what was the team that missed like 6 games? Was it Washington? Washington missed a bunch of games. I think Memphis.
The Wizards missed a bunch of games. Yep, those 2 teams.
Yeah, it got me nervous.
And we don't even know how they're going to make it up yet. They haven't even announced that. So your concerns were definitely valid.
And people are concerned. I mean, people want to know why they can't institute a bubble. Well, when they did the playoff bubble, the way the finances work in the NFL, when you're playing in the playoffs, you're not getting the same game checks you would in a regular season. So the NBA, they can invest that $150 million or whatever it costs to set up the bubble in Florida for a select few teams for a small period of time. So in order for them to try to do a similar situation, they're not going to be able to afford to do all that and continue to give these players their game checks. For the most part, the players were in there for free. They were just playing for their playoff bonuses. So it was easy for that. But now when they're actually getting, Brick Brooks making 40 some odd mil a year, imagine having to put that guy up in a hotel while you still paying him like $1 million a game. Well, like $500,000 a game. That's crazy.
Let
Or
me
a
ask
little
you
bit less
something.
than that. That's wild.
When was the last time you called Brick Brook by his real name? Can you
Yesterday, I was live streaming yesterday, and I accidentally called him by his government. But that guy's Brick Brook. That guy, yo, he's shooting 38% from the field.
Oh my God.
That's what happens when you can't run coast to coast anymore and just dunk all day.
Hey guys, listen. Part of this show and what we're gonna provide to you guys is transparency. And when I say that, it's to say that, yeah, man, I was one of those guys that actually
You wanted Brick
considered.
Brook?
I'm not gonna say I wanted. I'm not. Wait. I'm not gonna say I wanted him, but
What?
I,
Or as a nudie 25 says, Westbrook.
I'm gonna say the key word is wanted. I didn't want him, but there was a time where I said, you know what, I wouldn't be opposed to it for the right price, But I was thinking more so with the fans and the Garden rocking and all that stuff. But thank God,
Yeah, he's a star talent. I will always cherish the moment I got to see him put up a triple double at Madison Square Garden, even though we lost, because it was really spectacular to see. It was like effortless out there. Maybe because the Knicks sucked, or maybe he was just that good in that period of time. But he puts up stats, and right now, because he no longer has those athletic gifts, and he still doesn't have a jump shot, we're starting to see him regress, and we're starting to see how teams really look with a player that all he can do is really succeed off his athleticism. Because it's not like, I wouldn't say Brick Brook has a great basketball IQ. It was just athleticism and just that competitive hunger, that fire.
just like with Kyrie, we dodged the bullet.
Yeah, we died. Homie went AWOL. Bro, if I decided to no call, no show 3 consecutive times, I'd have to pull up with a doctor's note. Like, he just said, yeah, I'm not going to work. It's cool.
Look how the media acted when Rose was AWOL that
Exactly.
one time.
One time.
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
Derrick Rose went AWOL and we try and bring him back. You already quit on us once. We gonna bring you back again?
Hey, maybe that should tell you everything about Thibs. That's a lot of bull.
But all right, let's wrap it up here. How long have we been on? An hour? Oh, it's been an hour and 45 minutes. That's dope. Like I always say, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we'll be back here again next weekend at 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, and I'll work throughout this week to make sure we won't have the same issues moving forward. I'll try to figure out what the issue is and make sure we'll be better next week.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Also, just want to say once again, we've got more live shows coming to the channel. So stay tuned. I've got a lot of things in the works. Nudie, I know you said no Mets content, but I'm a Mets fan. JD, you're a Yankee fan, right?
Oh, I can't wait. Yes, sir. Yankees all day.
So we'll have Mets content, but we'll make sure to even it out talking about the bummy Yankees. I can't stand them, yo. They got me. They got my car towed 3 times in one summer. I will never like the Yankees. You know how much money I had to spend to go get my car? I would never like the Yankees. Ever.
That's gonna be good.
Mets gonna be a problem this year. That's a fact. Now you got the Yankees out there looking. You got the Yankees out there looking like the Mets in the Wilpon era, trying to nickel dime LeMahieu.
Yep, y'all got your own version of George Steinbrenner now.
Yeah, he made a killing off of GameStop too, so he better not be cheap.
Oh man, better go get power now with that GameStop money.
Yeah, that GameStop, BlackBerry, Nokia. Yeah, man, better go have some fun out there. But all right, I'm signing off now. Once again, I'm Quis, and I was joined for this episode with JD, and Inf skipped out a little bit early. He's got some family responsibilities to take care of, and I understand. All right, I'll holler at you guys.